Hi.
Hi. Happy hump day.
How are you?
Good. Very good. I'm trying to think what exciting. What's exciting? Oh, well, coming up, I am gonna, for the first time ever, celebrate. It's not really a day to celebrate, but anyway, the racing day. What's it called?
What is
Melbourne Cup
Day?
Melbourne Cup Day. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never bothered. Basically, it's just a horse race, famous horse race, spring carnival. I don't know if it's almost like the launch of the racing season almost. And it's a big deal in Australia, mostly in Victoria, mostly in Melbourne. So much so that they get a public holiday there.
They do
get a public holiday for this day.
Yeah.
Now, I apologize in advance if I am unfamiliar with the history and it has some deeper meaning. But as far as I know, it's just about horse racing. Launching.
As far as I know, that's what it's about. But
that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Nothing more significant than that. But they get a public holiday, and everywhere in Australia, even if you're not in Victoria, everybody celebrates. They have lunches. They do things in works and offices. People get dressed up. Some people take days off and go to fancy, elaborate lunches. And I've never ever partaken in that, other than being in a workplace.
In work.
Other than being in work,
you know,
wearing a fascinator to work, that kind of thing. Other than in work, go down, watch the race, go back, have a yay, and then go back up and do work. But I'm actually taking the day off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna celebrate.
Wow.
But really, it's mostly a treat to me to have a break and just relax and get dressed up. It's nice to get dressed up sometimes.
Yes, 100%. I do like the dressing up.
I do like get dressed up sometimes. I just like it. It's nice. It's like when you're a kid. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I loved dressing up. Put your mum's heels on, walking around in the heels that didn't fit your feet. Love dressing up. Fancy. It's fun. And it's not really changed. Remember, we used to go to lots of fancy dress parties, but haven't done that for years.
I know, it was a lot. Yeah, I didn't really do that much fancy dress until I met you guys. You guys did it so well.
We did, didn't we?
Oh my gosh.
And we say that like it's in the past. We should do it again. We should have fancy dress again. Maybe my next birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Being way too I don't want to say it was just I was just gonna say when we do fancy dress, it's just on another level. So
it is on another level.
So yes, it might be time to climb up to that level again.
Yeah, we need to get to the level again. It's always been fun.
Yeah.
But what have you been doing? What's been going on for you? You're going to
yes.
Thailand? Is it?
Yeah, going to Thailand. Yes. Bangkok for the first time. So exciting. But yeah, Diwali was on.
Oh, Diwali. Oh, did you have lots of sweets?
I did. Yes, I still have sweets. Which lasts forever, but it was great. Obviously.
What's your favorite sweet?
Oh, look, I actually like nimkis the best, and they're not sweet, they're salty,
Nimki.
Nimkis, they're like crunchy things like you eat. Mum makes other sweets, but Diwali, it's just so many sweets that actually the salty stuff stands out more. So it's nice to do that. But I think I like the ritual of like cooking with my mum and stuff. Just and stuff. We don't do it at the level we used to do it, of course. And then because you used to have to clean for Diwali as well, like the whole house, like wipe down the walls and everything. It was like such a production. But Mum doesn't really do that as much anymore. So you could actually just have fun making the sweets and eating the sweets. And it doesn't have to come with that added burden of like cleaning your entire life.
No. And did you say it's like one of the biggest Hindu festivals?
It is, yeah. It's like the New Year. So I mean, it would be awesome to go and see it in India, I think, because it would be on steroids, Because it's pretty big in Fiji as well. Like
Right.
it's the holiday, and yeah, so it's pretty nice. But I reckon India would be huge, and I want to do Holi in India. I think that would be awesome.
Do what in India?
Holi, you know, the festival of colors. You know, when people
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I reckon we would all love doing that in India.
That looks awesome.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So we should put that on our bucket
We should
list.
put that on our bucket list. Absolutely. Love to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So do what would you do?
Yes.
Okay, we can do a what would you do, right? So Meenal,
Mm.
a white co-worker says to a newly hired woman of color, and this could be newly hired Asian person, newly hired minority person, could be any. Your name is really hard to pronounce. Do you go by something else? What would you do?
Ah, jeez. Yeah. Actually, this is so hypocritical because obviously.
Oh, let's hear the hypocritical. I like the hypocritical. What?
Because the guy I'm seeing, according to him, I can't pronounce his name very well. So I call him by, you know, his initials, which is fine because it works. But I think that's bullshit, to be honest. I think you can learn, if you can learn to pronounce Daenerys Targaryen.
Daenerys Targaryen. Is that on the new Game of Thrones thing?
No, isn't she Khaleesi? Isn't that Khaleesi?
I don't know. Well, still Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, if you can learn those Dothraki names and whatever, like surely you can learn a name. I think you just got to like learn how to pronounce it. So I think we just start off with, no, you can't call me Bob. Like, I'm sorry, but no, that's not going to work. And you're just going to have to make an effort to pronounce my name.
Yeah.
And do the best that you can.
Yeah.
You know?
I think if people are trying, I don't care if they get it wrong, as long as they're trying.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it helps if you should be helping people along. I do believe that, you know, because lots of people can't say my name. And so, and especially the way I want it said, because I think there are different ways of pronouncing it. And so if you even want your name said in a different way, you're going to have to help people out and tell them, you know, what's the easiest way. Like Meenal, it is like Meenal, but with an M. That's fine. So then people know, and it's easier, or however, you know, it is, because it's a lazy excuse.
I don't know. I'm with you. I think you just do your best to pronounce the name. It's practice, right?
Yeah.
And I actually always ask people when it's clear that they have two names. So when they say, "Oh, my name's John," and then I see on an official document or something that their name is something else.
Yes.
And I read that name and think, well, that's an easy name to pronounce. Why are you calling yourself John? And they go, oh, it's just easier.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with Asian names.
Yes.
I was like, really? I don't think your name is difficult to pronounce at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a two-way thing here. We've got to give people the chance. Not assume that people can't spell your name or say your name, pronounce your name.
Yeah.
And then just, let's get used to it. Help people. Give them a helping hand with that.
Yes.
But what would you say this was your co-worker? What would you say to them?
No, I understand I get names wrong all the time, mostly because I forget what your name is. But you just got to try harder. I was like, no, I think you need to try and pronounce the name. And if you're really, really stressed about it, ask them and say it back, and then say it back.
And actually, something I used to do at work, because I worked, because I was a regional manager, I worked with lots of Asian countries, and not even just Asian countries. Russia and Turkey were in there as well. And actually, I struggled most with the Turkish names. Yeah. Because the Turkish names, if I read them with an English eye, they were not said how they were written. So what I used to do is I used to ask them, how do you say your name? And I was used to write it in English as it sounded to me. And then I would put it in brackets for me personally, how you spelled the name. So I always spelled the name right. And then how it sounded out to me if I was saying it. That's what I used to do to help me say their names correctly. Like, for example, there was a lady called Burju. Burju? Burju? She's Turkish. And it was spelled in a way that wasn't, like, it's a bit like the Irish name thing. the way I wouldn't have pronounced it like that. So I had to spell it a different way for me, so that I could say it.
Yeah.
The name was Berju, but it was spelled a completely different way.
Yeah. And just for all us ethnics out there, do have patience with people who are of ethnic background but grew up somewhere else. So we'll butcher your name, even though I should know how to say it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, have patience with other people from the same ethnic backgrounds. And like, we used to have this name conversation before. Like, my surname, I don't particularly think it's difficult to say. It's actually spelled how you say it.
Yeah.
Gandu.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine you could spell it with 2 O's or with an O instead of a U, but it's still pronounced the same.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I can understand misspellings, but I can never understand how you can't say it. Gandu. I had it the other day. It's Tracy Gandu. And then I couldn't even tell you. It was just, what? How did you get that? Anyway, so why it matters. Well, this statement is disrespectful because it suggests that some names, and therefore people, are not worth taking the time to get to know.
Yeah.
It can also make the new hire feel like an outsider, signaling that she has to change who she is in order to fit in at work. Well, he or she, because I've seen it so many times. So that's why it matters. You could repeat a name, demonstrating that it's not hard to pronounce, or point out to your coworker that it's a sign of respect to pronounce someone's name correctly. You can also explain why it matters, which is it's disrespectful, suggests the names aren't worth taking the time to get to know, which implies they're not either. Your white colleague may be falling into the trap of considering white-sounding names as the norm, and therefore not realize how inappropriate their question is. If their own name has always been easy for classmates and colleagues to pronounce, they may never have had their name questioned like this and not understand how it feels. We get a name, because I guess we live here, I get names all the time that may not be so easy to pronounce the first time I hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like you have to make an effort.
Yes.
I think there's 2 things though with this, that story we talked about earlier. There's people using Anglo-sounding names on purpose because it gives them more opportunities.
Yes.
And then also because it may be difficult to pronounce the name. There's 2 things behind that.
Yeah.
Could be both, either or.
Either. There you go.
Have you had any names you found difficult to pronounce?
I've had so many names I've had difficulty pronouncing, but clearly the person I'm dating right now, I just and I have the most difficult time pronouncing his last name, and he says it's all right. October is the month to pronounce his first name, and then we'll get on to his middle name, and then we'll get on to his last name. So there you go.
What are all the names difficult to pronounce?
Well, he just says I'm not saying it properly.
He needs to be patient with you.
I know, exactly. And sometimes I get it wrong, and then sometimes he's like, oh, now you put the Aussie accent on there, and I'm like,
oh, well, you're Aussie. You're going to say it with an Aussie accent.
Yes,
this is the way it is.
Yes, and he's redoing my friends' names because obviously, some of my friends are of Indian descent and they have Indian names, but we don't pronounce it in the Indian way. So he's like, that's not, it's Amrita, and I'm like, no.
Oh,
no.
Amrita. Instead of Amrita.
Like, no, it's Amrita. It's like
Amrita. See, that's okay because it's still the essence of the name.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You don't change your name to Amanda.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be different. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Amrita. I mean, I couldn't pronounce it the Indian way either.
Yeah. My mom still says it like that. She'll say Amrita. And I'm like,
yeah, I can't. But I mean, getting it very close, I think is good enough.
Yes. Or when you in Bridgerton and they're like Miss Sharma. No, they're like Miss Sharma or something. I'm like, what are they trying to say? And then you're like, oh, Sharma.
Sharma.
Yeah, it's Sharma. So, but yeah, but I get why that happens.
Okay. All right. I think we've nadded on a bit long.
Yes.
It was good talking to you as usual.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear from other people how they handle the name pronunciation, if that's been a problem in the past with them. Love to hear how they handle that. Do they just change their name to something Anglo, or if they use their name, or if you've got any funny stories around it, that would be even better.
Yes.
I would love to hear. All right, until next time, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Happy hump day. That was, well, it's not really hump day, but happy hump day to whoever's listening. And yes, how are you? How have you been? Because you look very tired, I have to say.
Yes. Yes, I've running on fumes, as they say. I've only had a few hours of sleep. So,
You're just such a
yeah.
party animal. That's what it is.
Yes. I guess so. Oh my gosh. I did have my work Christmas party on Friday.
Oh yeah.
Very early in November. Availability of people and whatnot. So yes, it was fun. And I went to Boston's Bay yesterday. So
oh, nice. Where did you have your Christmas party?
just at one of the doctor's places.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it
Fun.
was really fun. There was karaoke and stuff, and people were drunk enough to use it. So
Oh, you don't really drink. So you didn't do karaoke?
I did one song,
Oh
but
yeah.
there was a few of us that
Oh, okay.
Jackson beat it.
Safety in numbers kind of thing.
Exactly. You didn't have to go up by yourself, so it worked out. Just
so what did you sing?
Michael Jackson beat it.
Beat it. Just
very
beat
random.
it.
Yes,
Just beat
it's
it.
a bit exactly. It was very random. One of the other guys chose it, so yeah, it was
That could be funny. I wish I was a fly on the wall to see you singing "Beat It" by Michael Jackson.
I'm glad other people had the mic because that would have truly embarrassing. But how are you?
Good, yeah. I'm coach assisting this weekend, so I'm busy with that. What have I done since I spoke to you? I don't know. I can't think. My brain. It's like, what have I did? What did I do? I remember going to Manly. Did I talk about that? I went to Manly for a walk. That was nice.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was last weekend. It's really, really nice. It's going to be a really hot day today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like really hot. Like I went and got coffee just before this, and it was 21 degrees already.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yesterday was beautiful. It was actually on the cooler side yesterday. So it worked out. And when you're on the ferry, it's always cold. So
we got the ferry to Watson's Bay. Did you have fish and chips?
Yes. We didn't have fish and chips because we did the walk. And then by the time the walk was finished, I was very cold. And so I was like, can we go into the city and get some ramen? That's what we did. Went into the city and got some ramen. So
okay. Good ramen.
Good ramen. We went to Ichiban. So
oh yeah.
Very nice.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's good. Well, we'll move on to what would you do?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Sure. Okay. Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so this is like in a workplace scenario. A lot of these are workplace, so maybe change it up and make them public scenarios. It could be. So let's just, all right, I'm going to change this. It's not going to be workplace. This is like you're out with friends, and one of your friends bumps into a friend they know, somebody that you don't know. Okay. So you're out with your friends and they bump into, she sees a friend, she goes, hi. And so it comes over and she chats, and this friend is a black woman. And she's talking to her friend, who's a black woman, blah, blah, blah. You're all stood there, you and your friends. And then she leaves and she goes, goodbye. And then one of your other friends with you says, wow, I'm really surprised how articulate she sounded. Referring to the black woman.
Yes, absolutely.
She says she was really articulate.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So whether that's a workplace comment, friends comment out, whatever, what would you do?
I think I genuinely, because it can be confusing, okay, if we're not taking the worst interpretation of what she meant. It would be like,
Okay.
what do you mean by that? Like, what
So
do
you'd be
you mean?
confused.
Yeah, I think I would probably be confused.
Right.
Like, especially in my group of friends, obviously, that because there's a lot of people of color, it would seem very unusual to say something along that line.
Mm.
And I'd be like, do you mean just in her English? And if they said yes, oh, she speaks English so well, you'd be like, well, I'm pretty sure she speaks several languages very well, you know? And that's what I think people forget about people of color, you know, or to be honest, Europeans as well who come in, they speak, you know, several languages. So it's, and if you've ever tried speaking another language, and obviously I've tried Hindi, and it's such a difficult thing to do. Like, I can't even read and write it. Just speaking it, you know, is difficult enough trying to articulate myself.
Mm.
So when you really think about, you know, people who have the skills to speak 3 or 4 languages and actually read and write in more than one language, you're just like, really? You're surprised that she's really that articulate? It's like, that sounds like crazy talk to me.
Mm.
So yeah, I think when you point that fact out, people kind of get it. Like, people, I mean, when they say, oh, she speaks English well, it seems like, oh, such a big deal. It's like, no, if she speaks English and she speaks French and German and, you know, like whatever
Yeah.
else, then
I don't know. Yeah, again, it's a context dependent thing. I do hear, like, I work with a lot of international, companies and colleagues and whatever. I'm always impressed with their English, even if it's not perfect English. They may be, in some circumstances, more conscious of that, and they might apologize for saying this or not knowing this or speaking more slowly because they may have to think about it, especially in business context when you use more corporate speak or whatever. It's not everyday casual conversation. And I just feel that I'm just impressed. And I always compliment them by saying, I think it's a compliment, that, well, your English is better than my Chinese, better than my Japanese, better than my Korean, because I don't speak any of those languages.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think I'm just always impressed in all people with other languages, always impressed. But then I guess in the context that I'm reading this one, it's an Australian, so it's an Australian, but you wouldn't know that in the context I just described. But it's somebody who is, and even if, I mean, maybe they were an immigrant when they were 10, 20, whatever. But then to say, oh, I guess it could be also,
If it's a positive thing, it could be good. Like you said, most people, and me included, are impressed by people who speak multiple languages. And so if you're saying, oh, she's really articulate, and I'm, you know, because she speaks, you know, and she speaks it really well, then absolutely.
yeah.
But
I guess in the context I'm talking about is in work where I'm talking to someone who is living in another country. Like,
yes.
I'm talking about a colleague who's in China, lives in
Mm,
China, and is communicating to me in English, or
yes.
lives in Korea or Japan or whatever. They're talking about someone who is from that same country as them, or
Yes.
lived there at least most of the life, or a large part of the life. But I'll just talk about the other side of it. So the other side of it is, it might seem like a compliment, but it perpetuates a stereotype that Black people in this context or this situation aren't articulate or educated. So there must be a stereotype that you're not educated or articulate.
Right.
So I guess, yeah, it depends on the context. So that's why it sometimes sounds like a compliment, but it isn't.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm only getting this myself.
Yeah. Well, that was like that joke that, you know, what is it, the Danish princess, the little one? Nothing against her, but how it like was in a big article, how she speaks like multiple languages and like it was a big deal. But it's cute when it's a little, you know, white princess. But like most immigrant children speak multiple languages, but it's not a thing. Nobody says, "Oh my God, that's amazing." You know, like it was.
Yeah.
So I guess the
Yeah.
double standard, you know.
Yeah. It's impressive if it's, but it isn't, well, there's like, again, so many ways to look at it. It's impressive because so few non-migrants have that ability. Fewer. So it's like almost a surprise because, yeah.
But I think it's an exclusive, like a Australian thing or maybe a US thing or something, because most of the other countries speak multiple languages. Even in Europe, you know, maybe, you know,
Yeah, but not in
like,
England.
yeah, maybe not in England, but you know, if you're Swedish or you're, you know, Dutch or whatever, we ourselves know our friends are that way and they speak multiple languages, you know, so it's actually more of a I think there probably, it would be interesting to know the stats, but probably is more common if you can speak multiple languages. So
Yeah. So it's not really, it's just us stupid
yeah.
people that can't speak, or just me speak for myself. I did learn Spanish, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I did learn French and Chinese, but I don't remember much about it at all. And now that I think about it, now as I'm older, I appreciate, you know, that I should have put more effort into learning my language. I mean, I can
Languages.
understand it perfectly fine, you know, my what would be my native, you know, if I wasn't in Australia, but I didn't when I was a kid, I didn't appreciate it. And I didn't, you know, it came back to that whole, I wanted to be very Australian.
Yeah, I know what you mean. My dad tried to teach me some Nigerian language, but the thing is, like he didn't try and teach me till I was like, what, 13? It's a bit late. And it was because I was going to Nigeria to visit family. So he was teaching me some words, and that was fine. I learned some words like hello, thank you, and that kind of stuff. I guess it's me in my head more practical. For me, I would want to learn a language that's more useful, as in I'm going to use it more. Like, and that's why in our school, Spanish is one of the biggest languages in the world. Next, really, you know, Mandarin and Cantonese would be because they've got the biggest population, but it's not as spread as a spoken language, say. But Spanish is huge. But because I guess French, I don't know why, France is a neighbor. Most schools did French because France neighbor. But Spanish was offered in my school as exclusively do it. You didn't get a choice even. You either the year was split in two, and half the year did Spanish, half the year did French, and you didn't get to choose. So I did Spanish. But I would have liked, I think the useful languages, because we live in it where we live, is Mandarin, Cantonese.
Yeah,
That's the best language here. But if I forget about the practicality of language and what's the best to learn, I would love to learn Italian. I love that language. It's my favorite language.
It is beautifully spoken.
It's so expressive. I love the language. It's like rhythmic, expressive, like, I love it. I just love Italian. So that would be the only language. You love Korean. Why?
Well, because the amount of Korean drama I watch, it would just make it easy. I have started to pick up like certain phrases and things. And now that I'm watching, like, you know, world is turning to Korea, basically, for all of its entertainment needs. You know, I have Korean friends that I've just not utilized all these years. I'm just like,
you could learn Korean.
I know, I could totally learn Korean. I'm studying.
Yeah, you should. Oh, but yeah, that's the other side of that compliment. The suggestion that they shouldn't be articulate or educated. I mean, yeah. Pete, I know in England, you hear that a lot. If anybody who's not born in England speaks English to them, that would be a compliment that people would say, oh, your English is really good. That would totally be a compliment. But when you think about it, a lot of countries are schooled in English because it's a big language in the world. So yeah, I guess that's part of it. But in the other context I'm looking at is specifically a Black woman who's African American, living and going for a job interview, and then hearing somebody saying, "Oh, I'm surprised how articulate she sounded," because there must be a stereotype that Black people, African Americans, aren't articulate or educated. So I think that's what that one's about. But it's worth thinking about as well when you think about that as a compliment. Interesting, isn't it? And one thing I didn't mention is we're talking about a microaggression. So microaggression is really an attitude expressed as a behavior that promotes a stereotype that may or may not be true. I don't know. So that's what a microaggression is. They call it microaggression because it's not overtly racist.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like small, and it might even seem harmless. It's a compliment. So that's why it's a microaggression. And that's something you focus on when you're talking about diversity and inclusion in a work environment. Things that you may not consider offensive, things you may not consider insulting, things you may consider a compliment.
Yeah.
Could be a microaggression. Comments like that.
Oh, interesting.
Well, what advice would you give someone who just says, well, what are you supposed to do when you hear racist comments, or like, honestly, what would you do?
Yeah, asking why I think is important. What do you mean? Why did you say that?
But what if it's like overt racism?
Yeah, then it's just like, well, you're being racist, and I believe that's racist, and you need to stop.
Would you say that?
I would say that that's racist. It would be difficult. I mean, I can't imagine this being at work, but if it was, I would say that that's racist, and I don't want to hear it, basically.
Yeah. I guess it's all context dependent, right? Where you are, who said it, what the situation is.
Yeah.
And whether it's an environment. Go on.
I have tried with family in the past.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another one in your family, because your family's your family. It's just like, how do you address things that people say things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you try to explain it, because you have to be, especially because they tend to be older than you, right? And so you have to be respectful. But saying it in a way that they're just like, well, no, that's ridiculous. And they can dismiss you because you're younger, basically.
Yeah, but that's like an ageism thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
but yes, family, absolutely. I've had family say things that made me very, very uncomfortable, and I've not said anything, I'll be honest, because I remember one in particular because I was shocked. Actually, I was just like speechless and hurt.
Oh, really?
Experience of strong emotion. Yeah, I was very hurt by it. So I didn't say anything that I should have done.
What was it? I'm curious now.
You are curious, aren't you? It was a joke. And I was the butt of the joke. And it was about not being able to see me in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And that was from a family member, a white family member, because, I have the privilege of both. I have the complexity to navigate the two. But really hurt and offended by that.
Yeah.
So much that I didn't even know what to say. Just couldn't fathom. I wish I had said something now, maybe later though, not in the moment. In the moment I was too caught up in these feelings.
And I think it's difficult when it's you, like when they're talking about you, because the few times I've done it, it's when they're talking about other people, and other people. You don't feel personally attacked, therefore you can formulate a response.
Yeah.
Easier when you're not, so yeah.
Exactly. Well, yeah. When it's not as easy when it's personally directed at you. But this family member I know they didn't mean anything by it. They thought they were being funny. They just thought it was a funny joke. I know that because I know them
Yeah.
well enough. But I was just surprised and shocked that they didn't realize how offensive that is.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I think we need to wrap it up.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, but just
Yeah.
one thing before we go. We had this amazing chat last week with our friend Steph, didn't
Mm.
we?
Yes, we did. It was a lot of
It was
fun.
awesome. And I had to issue an apology because I realized once I'd read the interview that we did that when we were talking about them afterwards, that I started referring to them in she and her.
Mm.
So I added an apology. So I do apologize. It was reflexive, and we talked about doing that reflexively. So it just highlights the need to practice.
Yes.
Highlights the need to practice, and I've decided to practice with my written communication by making it gender neutral. As in, if I'm talking about someone, I don't say he, him, I'll just say they, them, because nobody notices. Nobody will notice that. Even if
Yeah.
they identify as he, him, she, her, generally people don't notice that. When you refer to
Yeah.
other people, they did this, they did that, nobody notices. So it's an easy way to practice. That's just
Mm.
my take
Yeah.
on it. How to practice saying it.
Cool.
Use they, them more often.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, there we go. That's all. I'm gonna go now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a lovely rest of your week, peeps. Happy hump day.
See ya.
See ya.
Mm.
Oh, happy hump day.
How are you?
I'm good. I really like this background. I think it's cool. Looks like we're sat next to each other.
Yes, it does. It's screwing with my head because I can't figure out which way to tilt my face. I don't know what it is, but
Doesn't matter. Just look at you. I'm looking at you.
yes, I know.
So you look at me.
I'm trying not to look at myself. Exactly. Who knew I
Oh.
was such a peacock? But anyway.
It's so good. So what did you get up to since we spoke?
Oh, gosh, what did I get up to? I think I did a lot more eating. Oh no, I am proud to say my man friend. He's obsessed. He's obsessed with like not wasting food. So he's like onto me now because I don't necessarily finish all the food in my fridge. So I took my lunch like two times last week, which is, as you know, not really what I do, in an attempt to finish the chicken that I bought that would have normally gone in the bin. So it seems so lame, but I am quite proud
Yeah.
that I finished it. He still thinks there's a chicken left, but there's no chicken left. I finished it. So okay, moving on.
Do you know what though? I've been doing those meal kits and I found I don't waste food. That's really helped to not waste food. Because they literally send you one spring onion and one carrot and half a celery stick for the meals and the recipes. So I just don't waste food because otherwise I waste food because I don't need to use the whole thing, fresh produce, depending on, how it comes. A bag of carrots is a waste for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really, really handy, actually. That's one of the benefits to having these meal kits is that you don't waste food or don't waste as much anyway. That's cool.
Yourself a man friend who eats everything you don't.
Yes, that as well.
Literally will eat everything else. So I'm happy with that. But yes, he doesn't, even at restaurants, he doesn't let me just order everything.
Good.
He's like, are you gonna finish eating that?
All right.
Like,
Well,
so much pressure.
he gets my tick of approval.
Well,
I haven't met him yet.
exactly.
Mm,
Oh, that's so strange. Anyway, yes.
sounds cool. What did I do? Actually, last weekend I was working at the weekend, but then I did
Most weekends currently.
yeah, but I was like full on working last weekend. I was assisting a coaching
Nice.
training. It was really good. It's lovely to see the transformation in people. Once they've finished the program, it's incredible. Like they even look different. So they've done all this inner work, working on limiting beliefs and clearing things that are, you know, parental programming and these kind of things. And they even look different. I can physically see them look different. It's weird.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
It's like they look younger. Did you notice that change in me?
Yes, you always look
when I
good.
did it, I was just like, wow, it's incredible. And then I caught up with friends for dinner this week, which was lovely. Caught up with Joe, teacher Joe, and I caught up with Holly and Annie when Annie was here for work.
Nice.
So we had, the best thing, tacos. Taco Tuesday. We did Taco Tuesday. And they did all these gluten-free tacos. Delicious.
Really?
Delicious. Oh, yes, so
It's
good.
going so far with this gluten-free stuff. It doesn't taste like cardboard anymore.
It doesn't. I'm so grateful. So grateful. Because generally it's difficult when you go eat out. And I don't like the idea of being that person that's difficult when you go out for dinner. So, you know, I'm always checking the menu when anybody invites me for dinner to see if I can eat stuff or know what I might order. But yeah, it really just makes a difference to my gut health. That's it. That's the reason I do it. No, I'm not celiac. But yes, the gluten, the wheat is different now because of genetically modified wheat. It's slightly different, so it reacts different with our bodies. For some people, they have an intolerance. Some people are fine. So that's why I am gluten-free. I found it makes a difference. What would you do, Meenal? Are you ready?
Yes, as always.
As always. What? It's time for, I feel like we need a jingle. It's time for, what would you do? Okay.
Sing it.
Sing it. Okay, so you overhear a co-worker confuse the names of the only 2 Asian women in your company. Or the only 2 Indian women in your company, or the only 2 Black women in your company. I think the interchangeable, you know where we're going with this, right?
Yes, indeed. So I do have to confess I've done this. And recently. And they did happen to be Asian. And they're lovely. And they started new. They happen to sit next to each other. And both their names start with C. And
okay.
It is my personal hell. Like, genuinely.
You're not great with names at the best times.
I'm just, oh my God. And to have them both start with C, I'm just like, oh shit. You know,
what are the names?
See, now I can't say it, but it's
Can you remember though?
See, again, I don't like, you know, like, because I'm just, I'm terrible with names as it is. Like, I kept calling one of the new, you know, assistants, like Elaine. That is not her name. Elaine is not her name, but I keep calling her Elaine. And I'm just like, what is wrong with me? So yeah, so I've done this, and they are both Asian, and they're both names start with C. But for me, it comes from a genuine, like, I'm just terrible with names. But
in general,
yes, I'm general. But
it could have been if there were 2 new people and they were both white, Caucasian, and they both names began with C, you'd have the same problem.
Oh yeah, because I've confused the new guy's name, who's white as well. Like, I've called him random names with D. It starts with D, but I've called him a completely different name. And people are like, who are you talking about? I'm like, the new guy. They're like, that's not his name. And I'm like, shit. And I will do it. I will have my, you know, my staff standing there, and I'm like, I will send you the email now. And I start, and I'm just like, and then they'll be like, what is she waiting for? I'm like, what is their name? So, but anyway, if I did notice somebody do that, I would probably crack a joke, because I do that myself. I'd be like, but I don't know if I'd focus on the Asian thing.
You do that. You do that. It's different. I think your situation is unique, as in not unique because maybe there's other people, but you're terrible with names regardless of their race.
Yes, exactly. I am equal opportunity offender.
You're inclusive of getting their names wrong. No matter what's your race or gender, I'm probably going to get your name wrong.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. I'll talk about why it matters. Okay. So this mistake could diminish.
You did say that you.
I do it.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. I've done it, and I would say I've done it in this context.
Yes.
Yeah, I've totally done it myself. I'll put my hands up and say I have done this, and this is why it matters.
Yeah.
Because it diminishes the woman's value. Really, if you don't remember somebody's name, especially in professional, that's somebody you come across a lot, it's like you're not worth me remembering your name.
Yeah.
Whether you intend that or not, that's the message you're sending.
Yes.
Okay. So that aside, and I kick myself because I do it like all these people I meet in the dog park. It's the same dog park. I remember the dogs' names, but I don't remember the owners' names.
That's clear messaging from you. Like,
remember the dogs' names. It's like, oh, that's Wilson. I have no idea what is. I would have asked at one point, but do you know what it is as well? It's because they're always calling your dog's name. It's repeated. You know, I'm saying Hendy. I'm always shouting his name, and the same as other people. So you remember their dog's name. You don't remember their names. So interesting. But anyway, I digress. Why it matters. In this context, where I guess we're talking about, you generally don't struggle to remember people's names, people in your team who you work with every day. But when it comes to the only two people that are minority, whether it's Black or Asian, whatever, you just get them confused. That's the kind of context we're talking here, right?
Sure.
So this mistake could diminish the woman's value in the eyes of those who hear it. So it's the people that heard you getting their names mixed up, other people, whether they realize it or not, will diminish the value of those women. And it can signal disrespect for the Asian women or the Black women at the company, because consciously or unconsciously, and I talk about unconsciously a lot because you're not aware of why you're doing it, but it's a behavior you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's a form of stereotyping, and it can make the woman feel that their names are not considered worth learning or that they are viewed as interchangeable. And it's that whole thing, oh, we all look the same.
Yes.
I've had that, and I've had that personally, where somebody's confused me with somebody I personally think looks completely different.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we've got similar skin color or similar hairstyle, like natural hair. But I really do believe we look different. I don't understand how you can get us confused. But anyway, I've had that. I've had that. It's not nice.
No.
I'll just say it's not nice. So what you could do is you can correct the mistake in the moment. So you're hearing this, and you correct it in the moment. You could be like me and just make a joke going, I do that all the time. I don't know if that's what you would say. You could say you're confusing Maya, so it's Maya, with Alicia.
Yeah.
They're very different. You should get to know them. I think that's kind of, I feel like that's a bit passive aggressive, that comment. That's a suggestion, but I feel like it's passive aggressive. I feel like a correction, is warranted.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And maybe don't try to judge too much the person who's made the mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Just correct them.
Yeah.
And maybe talk to them afterwards, because what might help them to remember is knowing how it can impact someone else. But if they don't understand that that's how it might impact someone else, then they'll probably just repeat what they're doing. But to at least give them a reason, a bigger reason, to do whatever they might need to do to help remember the names, I think is important to have a conversation after. But I feel like this, pointing it out, yes, but saying they're very different, you should get to know them, I think that's a bit passive aggressive, really. If that doesn't work and your coworker continues to confuse them, you might need to talk to your manager, explain why it matters, and suggest that someone speak to them about trying harder to get this right. Yeah. I guess it depends who they are. Yeah. If you're not comfortable talking to them, maybe go and talk to your manager. That's a good idea. And then it says, decades of research show that people often find it harder to differentiate between people of another race than people of their own race. And that's normal, and it's just how it is. So it might need to make an extra effort, because I've done that myself.
Oh, absolutely. As someone who started watching Korean drama, I used to have a lot of trouble differentiating all the characters and the names. It was, oh my God. But now
You got used to it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you first start, it's a nightmare. But yeah.
And they have a term for this. They call it own race bias. Own race bias. So you're biased about people in the same race as in, I can't tell the difference. So I was going to get their names mixed up. Own race bias. And research also suggests that people are less likely to remember employees with less power.
Oh.
And Black women or Asian women and people of color generally are less likely to be viewed as powerful in their organizations, unless they're the CEO or the GM.
Oh, very businessy thing, but that's weird. Yeah.
So there you go. Interesting. Well, let's think about it. If people are often forgetting that person's name, like it's subconsciously or unconsciously, they're just lower down in the pic. It makes sense.
Yeah, it could be.
Whether you consciously aware of that or not. But if you're going to remember the manager, that manager's name, you're going to remember the GM's name, you're going to remember the powerful people in your company, you're going to remember their name.
I get them all confused, but yes. I don't
Except for Meenal, because she doesn't.
Department is, and I'm just like,
she can't remember who her head of department is. So there you go. Well, Meenal's got a special condition.
They should call it something. They should name it.
They should name it. There should be a term for that.
Yes, so I can identify as it and be like, this is my excuse.
Yeah, this is my excuse. Exactly. I do have a suggestion for you, though, because I remember when I joined the company I used to work at, and there was, I see so many faces, and I didn't work with everyone. You don't work with everyone that you see in the building. So you don't know who they are, but you want to be like, hi. You want to know names. So, and what was really great at the time is they had on the intranet, for every department had a photograph, and it was just your ID photograph with your name. So you could go and look them up. You used to be able to do that. But then they changed the system to Workday. And if you don't put your picture in there, and you didn't have to. So you couldn't look up somebody in Workday unless you knew their name. And it wasn't by department or anything. So I could go to, I don't know, that department, see everybody's faces and their names. And that was great because it was a good way to learn names. So for me, I would just say, if it's important to you to remember names, especially people that work with you regularly, picture, name, somewhere.
No, for me, it's not even about the fact that I don't know their names. I do know most people's names, but I will, when I'm stressed or whatever, I will switch their names out. It's something like, if it's like Helen, I will call them Heather. If it's like, it's something.
Yeah. They just need to correct you.
Exactly. Like, I don't know.
That's what you should start with all your, your people or other people. When you meet them, it's just like, hi, I've got your name. Brilliant. Yeah. Just to let you know, I may get your name wrong from time to time. Please correct me if I do that.
I do that now every time I get a new team member, and I have to bring them around the office and introduce them to 50 people. I tell them, just so you know, I'm going to confuse names. Everybody finds it comical now. Like, because I go out and you can see the stress on my face because these are people I work with every day. And I'm like, right. And I will get at least one name wrong. So, and my own team, like I do this with everyone I see.
So Meenal's got a special condition. If everybody knows the name of it, let us know.
Exactly. Yes. Do please. That would be very helpful.
It would. Cool.
Anyway,
so that's it. So look up for today. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was pretty happy with that one.
Yes, I think so.
Yes. So until the next time.
So
we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.